Okay, yogis, looks like the time has just stepped over the 10:30 mark. It's time for us to make a start. I invite you to come to your mat and take a seat, cross-legged as comfortable, and consciously allow your hips just to begin to sink a little deeper into the ground. And as you sit upright, see if you can rise up through the back of your spine and lift the crown of your head, and at the same time soften both your shoulders. So you're lengthening through your neutral spine, and maybe your hands can rest onto your thighs. And we'll begin with 4-4 breathing, Ujjayi breathing. This means we'll inhale for 4 very consciously and exhale together for 4 very consciously. I'd like you to concentrate on making that gentle whispering sound in the back of your throat. You do it by just constricting the throat slightly. And we'll use this to separate ourselves from our day, our regular thoughts, and transition into our practice to give ourselves these 60 minutes all the way through to a nice juicy shavasana when we can really just be free of everything and dive inside our own existence and do a little yoga at the same time. Good. So let the air leave your body quite naturally and then seal your lips, and we'll inhale together for a count of 1, 2, 3, 4, and exhale together 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhaling through the nose, 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhaling 4, 3, 2, 1. Twice more together. 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale 4, 3, 2, 1. Remember, whisper sound. 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale 4, 3, 2, 1. Beautiful. Continue to breathe consciously, using your nose as much as you can for pretty much the whole of the practice. Maybe you've closed your eyes. Maybe your eyes are in very, very soft gaze now as you transition deep inside yourself and your own practice. And we'll set our intention together for the practice. Take your right hand and gently place it onto your heart space, as if you could connect with your own heart. And then use your left hand to press lightly onto your abdomen to feel your own body breathing. Connect. Good. May this practice heal and strengthen your body and your mind. May this practice heal and strengthen your body and your mind. Good. Let's gently come to a forward fold at the top of the mat. Imagine you've been running or you've been sitting at a desk chair for a long period of time, and you give yourself this moment to keep your feet round about hips distance apart. Press down through all 4 corners of your feet, and then just take a really nice, long, slow forward fold and feel that stretch gently emerging all the way through the posterior chain. You imagine walking into a room that's not been used for years and years and years and years. Dust sheets all over the furniture. Cobwebs, and all the little joins and all the little cracks. The spiders have been crawling around and weaving their webs. Deep inside your body, when you sleep, you get these mini cobweb type things building. They're called gentle early fascial adhesions. And when we move through the practice, it's like taking the sheets off the furniture. We begin to sweep away some of these cobwebs and bring little freedom. We also begin to open the windows and let the light and the air through. It's the movement of the practice giving us this freedom deeper inside. Good. Maybe you wish to place your right hand on your left bicep and place your left hand, if you haven't done already, in the crook of your right elbow, and use this little arm lock to bring more weight through your shoulders. Crown of the head can melt, and maybe you take a little swish to the right and to the left. Now, sometimes your body will say, I don't want to take a swish, I just want to hang here, and that's okay. Sometimes your body will say, this feels a bit strange, I quite like to put my hands on the floor and do this. And do that, put your hands on the floor, move around.
See if you can break some of those cobwebs gently, moving the dust sheets off the furniture. And if you've put your arms in this little arm lock to use the weight of your arms to stretch through your spine and even your glutes and your hamstrings, place your hands back on the floor and gently step your left foot towards the back of the mat. And we'll begin to open up through the hamstrings. So if you keep your legs fairly straight in this pyramid pose, and for some of us that means our front leg can bend a little. That's okay. It depends on where your hamstring is right now. Don't force it. Maybe your hands can rest onto the ground, and you'll get a nice early stretch through the back of your right hamstring. You may feel it in your calves, and if you raise your right toes off the floor, you'll even feel it maybe a little bit in your Achilles tendon, stretching all the way through the back of that right leg. Maybe you'll soften your right shoulder a little closer to your right knee. And whatever you're doing, I hope that you'll use your breath to journey inside your body and listen to the subtle messages from deep inside. Good. Follow your breath and inhale to soften your left knee onto the floor as you bend your right knee. And if it feels comfortable, we can reach both hands up to the sky. If it doesn't feel comfortable yet, you can keep your hands on the ground. Listen to your body. Good. If your hands are raised, softly place them back on the floor and exhale back to a pyramid pose. So lift your hips as you breathe out. Good. Then inhale, bend both your knees and left knee can touch the ground, and maybe your hands float to the sky as you breathe in and fill your lungs and touch your fingertips. And then exhale, if those hands were lifted, put them back on the ground and keep exhaling to straighten both legs and get a stretch through your right hamstring. Good. One more time, but this time we'll stay low. So inhale, drop your left knee to the ground. Stay low, stay low, stay low. And then exhale, just only straighten your right leg. So coming into a half split, only straighten your right leg. Nice stretch through the back of your right hamstring. Good. Then gently come on forward. Inhale, inhale, inhale. Lift that left leg off the floor. And then gently straighten into pyramid pose before rotating to the left edge of your mat. You may need to move your screen around if you need to see me, but I'll talk you through it. We're just coming through a wide-legged forward fold, also known as runner's release. I'd like you to walk your hands to touch your thighs, maybe your knees as you go down a little lower, maybe your calves, maybe the outside of your ankles. Perhaps you've got the range to touch the floor just beyond your feet. As you soften the crown of your head down to the ground and get this nice gentle stretch, not only through the glutes and the hamstrings, calf muscles, Achilles tendons, but also through the inner thighs. The whole body is a compound machine, right? So everything gets a benefit here. Nice. We're just opening up. In a minute, we're going to come to goddess pose and take a squatting pose, just to open through the inner thighs a little more. Don't worry, I'll talk you through it. Gently inhale to lift your chest. Walk your heels in one step, not the toes, just the heels, and reach your hands up towards the sky. Watch your palms press, and then exhale, bend your knees, press your knees out over your toes, come into goddess pose. Cactus your arms, so bend your elbows through 90 degrees and broaden through your yogi palms. And then draw your elbows back so you can feel your shoulder blades pressing into the back of your heart space. Good. Inhale, straighten through the legs, star pose, and then walk your toes in once and your heels in once, maybe a little more. We're coming into that squatting pose. And exhale, come all the way down into either a modified or a full squatting pose. If you're modifying, maybe you're resting your elbows onto your knees. Maybe you can use your hands to brace between your knees and lift your heart and soften your hips and use your breath to gently open through the hips. In the West, we tend to have very tight hips. It affects our posture, our gait, our general health. It's important that you modify. If you're not comfortable, come out a little. Good. For one more long breath, you've still got that nice, long, soft Ujjayi cadence. Good. And then place both your hands on the floor and straighten out through your right leg. So you're going to come into Skandasana. It looks like this. You can use your left elbow to push your left leg out a little further, and then press your toes away from your right toes away from your hip, and then draw them in as you press your heel now away and out. So you've got this long straight line through the back of the right leg, and this stretch through the inner left thigh, Skandasana. Good, one more breath. And then use the exhale to come back to a wide-legged forward fold. Rotate back to the front of the mat, back into your pyramid pose. Take a breath in and then gently just step your left foot all the way to the top of the mat and give yourself a little dangle in ragdoll. Anything's comfortable. You can rest your hands on the floor. You can interlace your elbows. You can press your hands to the outside of your feet, whatever feels right. Subtle messages in the body speaking to you all the time, but do you really listen to them? Give yourself the space to listen to your own body. Good. In a moment, we're going to step the right foot back and do the other side. So gently use your breath to float your right foot towards the back of the mat and step it on back into a pyramid pose. This time, you can stretch out through your, oops, lose my mic pack over here. Forgive me whilst I adjust. I just need a thumbs up from someone to check that the sound is still working. Whose hand can I see? Caroline, if you raise your right hand, if I can show you to just let me know that you can. Actually, let me check. Someone I can see. Eileen, I can see you. Beautiful. If you can hear me, raise your. Thank you very much. All right, so we'll just get back into this. Forgive me for checking. Otherwise, I'll stand here rambling on, and you'll be wondering what I'm actually saying. Important to get the feedback. You're not here, so I kind of need that. Let the breath leave your body, and then as you inhale, soften your right knee onto the floor and inhale both hands up to the sky. If that's comfortable, you can keep your hands on the floor if you wish. You're getting a nice stretch through your right hip flexor. Nice, then float both hands all the way back to the ground. We're doing the other side, so you know what's coming. Exhale to straighten your legs into pyramid pose and get that nice stretch through your left hamstring. Maybe you draw your left toes off the floor and get a deep stretch even into your calf and into your Achilles. And then inhale, soften your right knee to the ground again. Maybe the hands float all the way up. Maybe the palms touch as you fill your lungs. And then exhale, float both hands back down towards the ground. Keep exhaling to straighten through both legs back into your pyramid pose. Yeah. Good. One more time. Inhale to drop the knee onto the floor, but this time come all the way back into your half split. So keep the right knee on the floor and straighten through your left leg. You're coming into half splits. Bigger stretch through the back of your left leg. Good. Then gently come on back as you inhale and come back into your pyramid pose and rotate to the right edge of your mat. So you're coming into a wide-legged forward fold on the other side. I'm just going to spin around so you don't have to look at my bum. Good. This time, walk your hands down to your ankles and draw your chest to the floor, but rather than placing your hands low, I'd like you to try and interlace your hands behind your back. Now you can rest them on your hips if that's comfortable. You can use a scarf or a strap or a t-shirt or something to hold on to if your hands don't quite touch comfortably. And then gently, as you lower your chest towards the floor, see if you can float your hands up and over your head. So you can open up not just through the whole of the posterior chain and inner thighs like we did before, but now also focusing on the front of the heart space. The chest gets a chance to open up, all the tight muscles from sitting at desks. One more long breath in. Remember, we're going to climb all the way up to star pose and come into that goddess pose and squatting pose as well. So release your hands, bend your knees, and walk your heels in one step as you inhale your hands all the way up to the sky star pose, and then exhale, come back into goddess pose. So this time your left leg is pointing towards the front of the mat. And remember to draw your elbows through 90 degrees and press your shoulder blades into the back of your heart. So you're really opening up through the front of your chest and you're broadening through your yogi palms as well. You can feel a lift through the crown of your head. Nice. As you exhale, maybe you soften a little deeper, switching on those big muscles in your thighs. Then inhale, come up, so straighten both legs. Press your palms together and walk your toes in once, walk your heels in once, and exhale, come all the way down into your second squatting pose. Maybe you use your hands to brace between your knees. Maybe you use a block or a book to sit onto. But I'd like you to try and lift your chest above your hands if you can.
comfortably. Nice, and as we open up through those thighs, we're going to get ready for Skandasana on the other side. So get ready to step your left leg wide of your body. So place your hands on the floor and step your left leg wide. Come into Skandasana side lunge. And maybe this time you can use your right elbow to widen out through your right knee if it's comfortable. If it's not, don't do it. And then press your left toes away and then draw your left toes in as you press your heel out. Feel the stretch through the back of your left thigh, your left hamstring, left calf, right into the left Achilles tendon. Good, one more long breath in. Nice, and then gently step to the top of the mat, come into your forward fold. Now that we've opened up so beautifully through the hips, we can then the hamstrings and the calves, we can start moving through the rest of the practice. So step the left foot towards the back of the mat and soften your left knee onto the ground and notice the openness in your hips that you can feel. Inhale your hands up towards the sky if it's comfortable. If it's not comfortable, you'll keep your hands on the floor and just open up through your hips and soften through the hips, getting a nice stretch through the left hip flexor. That's the big muscles at the front of your left hip. Good. If your hands are high, maybe you can soften your shoulders and open up through your heart space. Lift your energy up. Good. Feel the breath moving through your nose. And we'll take the stretch from the front of the left thigh to the outer left thigh. So bring your knees together at sort of 90 degrees, like this. And place your right hand on your right thigh. And imagine you've got a piece of glass in front of you and a piece of glass behind you. I want you to do this so you're not dropping forward into the sagittal plane. You're encouraging to move through the frontal plane. So your left arm can move up and over your head in between these two bits of glass, right? Until the elbow floats over the left shoulder to get a nice big stretch through the left side of your torso. And let it radiate all the way from your left armpit down into your left knee. Good. Breath moves into the left lung as if you could gently expand through the inner left lung and press out through the inner left ribs. One more breath all the way in. And stay for the exhale. Give yourself the space to open through this. And then inhale, come on up. And we'll take the stretch from the outer left thigh to the deeper muscles in the front of the hip. So for this one, I need you to anteriorly rotate your hips. So you imagine your frontal hip joints, if you even touch the bony bit here. What you're trying to do is lift those up. So you're going to lift those up. And when you lift your frontal hip joints up, the whole hip rotates, so the spine has to arch out backwards. And when it does this, it stretches the deeper psoas muscle inside your hip flexor. It helps to place the hands on the knee and arch the crown of the head forward. And you'll find your own variation of this stretch. The target area, of course, the deep left hip, the front of the deep left hip, deep inside the bony structure of your hips. Big muscles inside there that do so much work. Getting a nice gentle stretch. Good. One more long breath in. Maybe you can actively lift your frontal hip joints a little more and feel the stretch all the way through those hip flexors. Nice. And then gently release. We'll come into pectineus on the other side. So place both your hands in line with your right foot. And notice your right shoulder on the inside of your right knee. Take a breath and then exhale to walk your right upper arm down the inside of your right shin. Now, some of us will comfortably bring the elbows to the ground. That's not within my range. My elbows stop short of the ground. The important thing is that we find the edge of our range and stretch the inner right thigh. If you need to move around a little bit to make sure the stretch is going to the target area, the inner right thigh, then that's what you do. Move around. Feel this whole thing. Sometimes it's nice to explore just tiny variations of the stretch and see where else it moves around the target area. Gently using the shift to sense the different sensations deep inside the body. And as you map these different sensations, I guarantee you'll spend less time in your planning mind and more time in the present moment, and you'll probably learn a lot more. Good, getting ready to stretch out the right Achilles tendon. We're going to use downward facing dog. So place your hands at the top of the mat and tuck your left toe. Go ahead and straighten out through your right leg. And then just float your right foot over the back of your left leg. So you're pressing the ball of your right foot down in towards the bottom left corner of your mat. And you can choose how much you press your right heel towards the mat. And you can gear in as much weight as you want to by taking the weight out of your left foot. For some of us, we can comfortably float the left foot off the ground, put all the weight through the right leg and allow the right heel to touch the ground. And some of us, we need to keep some weight in the left foot and support the right Achilles tendon as we stretch through the right calf muscles and all the way down through that big tendon, Achilles, that wraps itself around the back of your heel bone. Good, one more breath. And then float your right leg all the way around back into downward facing dog, and just inhale your left leg towards the sky just momentarily, and use this to step your left foot forward, and we'll do the right hips. So soften your right knee onto the ground and inhale your hands, if that's comfortable, up towards the sky. What is it that your body is suggesting to you? Is there a little bit of tension somewhere? If there is, can you feel it? Or are you running away from it? Is there a little bit of imbalance somewhere? If it needs to be balanced, can you consciously direct something like your energetic breath, not your physical breath, your energetic breath into the area of tightness or imbalance, and see what happens? Sometimes we just need to sit with our own discomfort. The yogis call this tapas, sitting into the fire, letting it burn itself out. And when it does, we're still present, right? Good, let's take this stretch into the outer right thigh. So gently walk your knees into 90 degrees. Imagine you've got that bit of glass in front of you and behind you. Encourage your belly to come in a little too sometimes. And place your left hand on your left thigh and inhale your right hand up and over. Squeeze yourself between those two bits of glass until the right elbow floats up and over the right shoulder, and you get that really magnificent stretch through the right side of your body. You can feel it somewhere around your armpit, radiating all the way down through the rib cage and outside the right hip and down the outside of the right thigh. Big muscle there called the ITB. Getting a nice gentle opening here. Sometimes the hand lifted feels a bit strained because we're not used to keeping a hand up so long. If it's too much, you can just place your hand behind your head or support it somehow, but feel the stretch through the right side of your body. One more breath, not here for long. Good, and then gently come on up again, and we'll take that stretch deeper into the right hip flexor. So we're going to, you remember touching your frontal hip bones, just lift those up again. So you're lifting, it's an anterior tilt of the hips. So you'll lift the front edge of your hips, which will naturally press your spine, arch it backwards. And use your hands on your left knee and sort of press the crown of your head forward. Sometimes I see students doing this, and this kind of loses the effect because you're just shortening through the muscle we're trying to stretch. You need to stay up quite high and lift the frontal hip joints, not drop down, lift the frontal hip joints. It's all about how much you can arch your spine back out. This will look different in everybody's body. Some people have this beautiful big arch through their spine.
and they're barely stretching the psoas. Other students will have a spine that looks like it's not even arching at all, but they've got a really nice, good hold to find that gentle edge on the psoas. So really the focus is lift the front of your hips and stretch the deeper muscle. Good. For one more breath, allowing your body to lengthen. So imagine if every time you breathed in, your body could lengthen, letting go of stress. Gently float your hands down so that you've got left foot, left hand, right hand in alignment on your mat just underneath your chest. And you'll notice your left shoulder somewhere on the inside of your left knee. And we'll take the stretch inside the inner left thigh, targeting the little groin muscles there that are used in hip flexion. Walk your hands forwards and soften your elbows towards the ground and find that bind. So that point where the muscle on the inside of your left thigh feels that little stretch. The muscle there very rarely gets stretched. Pectineus on the inner thigh and piriformis, this opposite number on the, just on the outside of the back of the hips, the glutes. Two very small muscles that are used in stabilization a lot when we walk and run, and they barely get stretched. So they get tough and tight. And over the years, it affects how comfortably we walk. And you can usually see this because when these muscles get tight over long periods of time, people who get up off sofas after watching Netflix for too long make that sound. Oh, you ever heard that? Oh. I know I have. Good, one more breath as we gently loosen through the inner left thigh, softening pectineus. Nice, and then we'll use our hands at the top of the mat to step back into downward facing dog. And we're going to stretch through the left Achilles this time. So press your left heel towards the bottom right mat. And be really personal with this journey. So how much energy do you need to release through your left heel to find its soft edge? How much weight do you need to retain in your right foot so you can comfortably stretch the back of your left calf and Achilles? And when I say comfortably, I mean listen to your body. Let go of your planning mind, any thoughts that are swirling around. They're getting in the way right now. Right now, you need your attention on your body so you can gauge this. When you learn how to do this, your body will respond in all sorts of beautiful ways. Not just the target area. Target area is just a focal point. The whole body is affected by this stuff. Good, one more long breath in. Maybe that heel softens a bit closer to the floor. Maybe you just take the pressure off. Good, and then gently bring your left foot back over and bring both your knees onto the floor, and we'll come into child's pose. We'll take a little rest at this stage. So I'd like you to let your toes touch and soften your heels towards your hips towards your heels. If you can rest your forehead down onto either your fists or a book or a block or the floor itself, then you can switch off a few more muscles through your back and maybe even rotate your forehead left and right, just massaging your forehead against the mat, the ground, the block, your fists, whatever it's resting onto. Maybe you stretch your arms out a little further and notice how this stretches open through the heart space. Or maybe you play with resting your wrists on the back of your ankles and notice how gravity then shifts to open up through the back of the shoulders. Maybe you try both, maybe you're comfortable with one. You can give your body a nice, gentle, soft rest in the one that feels the best to you right now. And just as your planning mind starts to show up again, I'd like us to take 2 full counts of breath, inhaling through the nose for 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale back out through the nose. 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale through the nose. 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 4, 3, 2, 1. Keep the breath cadence. Make it comfortable for you. And do your best to stay inside your body. You've gifted yourself these 60 minutes. One student described it as her permission to zone out. A space where there are no worries, there's no concern from the outside world, it's just you, your mat, and your present moment. So you can let go of everything and be free. You can reattach yourself to all your worries, your concerns, and anything else you like after Shavasana finishes. But for now, be free, be present, let go. You do deserve that. Good. Consciously loosening through your shoulders now, allowing the shoulders to go really soft and loose. Maybe you allow the connection of gravity. You can feel this. Any point that your body is touching the floor, there's this force holding you down, gravity. It's incredibly supportive. It seems counterintuitive to something that holds you down, but if you imagine life without it, you'd be lost. Gravity, feel the connection with the earth. And then gently come to extend your body and lie long and straight and flat on your mat. Now I'm going to move my stuff around so that I can change the camera angle. But I'd like you to lie nice and long and straight and flat on your mat. And we'll come to open up through the shoulders. So when you're comfortably lying on your belly, we'll start with the right shoulder. I'd like you to rest your right arm on the ground and bend your right elbow so that your right elbow is at 90 degrees and your palm can now press the ground. If that doesn't make sense, have a little look. I'm doing it on the floor here. Hopefully you can still hear me. Let me check that in a moment. Good, and then bring your left hand underneath your left shoulder and use your left hand to press your left shoulder away from the ground and roll onto your right hip. And maybe your left leg can rest onto the ground. Well, my left leg seems to have found a bolster. How nice for it. I would like you to make sure that your right elbow is no lower than your right shoulder. It can reach a little higher. It's flat against the ground, right? It can reach a little higher. And so you're stretching through the main chest muscles. You're not teasing open the anterior deltoid and causing damage there. You're just opening through the bigger chest muscles. I always find in this posture, we get a really nice secondary stretch through the hip. There's like a twisting stretch through the hip. And we also get a transverse plane rotation around the neutral spine because our spine is lying on the ground. Gravity is supporting it and we're rotating around it. And using the stretch to open the heart space, the right chest muscles, and also the left hip flexors. A very powerful way of returning the body to a clean, neutral setting. Got one more breath here. And then gently rotate your left hip back onto the ground. Take a moment just to breathe this, right? Sometimes we can rush through these a little bit. But really the body is absorbing the benefit of the stretch. So we'll just give ourselves just a couple of breaths right here. Some of you may be rushing to the other side already. That's fine. You know where you're going. It's okay. If you are rushing, I'd ask you why. And then gently, let's come into this together. If you haven't done already, press your left arm onto the ground and bend your left elbow so that your left elbow is at 90 degrees and your left elbow is in line with your left shoulder. And then bring your right hand underneath your right shoulder and use it to press the ground away. So you're going to lift your right shoulder up, 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 your right hip up, up, up. and let the right leg float somewhere over, comfortably over the left leg. And maybe your right leg touches onto the edge of the floor, just off the left edge of your mat. Maybe it doesn't, maybe it floats in the air, or maybe there's a block or a book or a bit of furniture you can rest it onto that just happened to be nearby, and you thought, oh, that's handy. I'll rest my foot on the wall. Deep stretch in the left chest this time. Secondary stretches through the right hip. Spine gets this rotation. Maybe you can keep your left leg nice and straight to encourage a long, straight, neutral spine. When I say straight, of course, the spine is never straight. The tent pole is straight. The spine has these beautiful, naturally occurring curves. I say naturally occurring because they develop when we're born. We do have a straight spine. Babies have almost like a tent pole spine, and these two curves appear as the spine develops, and they absorb shock when we take steps. In a straight spine, all the shock will go straight up into the back of the brain, but the spine absorbs so much. Gently release your right hip back onto the ground and soften your right shoulder back onto the ground, and have a little rest here. Yeah. So we stretched out through the front of the shoulder joints, big, very mobile joint. We're just going to quickly open up through the back of the shoulder joint. And once you're lying on your chest, just resting, gravity is holding your body onto the ground, right? You can feel gravity holding your chest down. I'd like you to just peel your chest up off the floor for long enough to reach your right arm between the ground and your chest, like this, if that doesn't make sense. You should be able to use your left forearm as a little pillow just to rest your head onto. And you use gravity now to clamp your right arm between the ground and your chest so that you can stretch the outer right shoulder joint. And you may feel this all the way through the muscles that wrap themselves around the back of your shoulder and in towards the spine, through the outside curve of your right shoulder. And every time you exhale, if you're taking these nice long, deep yogic breaths, the exhale is created by the relaxation of the diaphragm muscle. And the diaphragm muscle relaxes, it pushes the air out. The belly draws in. Diaphragm muscle relaxes to push the air out. Sends a whole coded message to all the muscles. When we're breathing out, we are relaxing. So breathe out for 4 and feel the relaxation move around your body, every muscle softening. Good, one more breath. And when you're ready, gently lift your chest so you can release your right arm. Take a little rest. Free that arm up so gravity's no longer holding it. Yeah. I'm all set up for the other side. I'm still assuming you can hear me. I'll check that in a minute. I'll be coming to the mirror, the window, screen, whatever. Lift your chest, lift gravity, and then place your left arm between your chest and the ground and use your right forearm as a pillow. So you can really sandwich your left arm between the ground and your chest. And you should feel that nice stretch all the way through the outer left shoulder assembly. Long breaths, right? Long exhale. Long relaxation. We're undoing some of the tension that's created. And give yourself a little time, a little space. Stretch through the muscles, increase our
functional mobility. Not just through the shoulder, but the whole body. We're working the whole body right now. Doing really well, guys. One more breath here, and then as you exhale, gently release your chest from the ground and take your left arm out. You're all moving, it means you can hear me, that's good. And have a little rest here. And let your shoulders absorb, so you stretch out those tissues, kind of squeeze out some of the juices too, and then when you rest, muscles, the connective tissues reabsorb fresh cellular juices, and as this happens, it tends to regenerate it, just revitalize it. So muscles and tendons and joints are just stiff for long periods of time and don't get this kind of re-energizing, this clearing of the cobwebs, this removal of the fascial adhesions, giving our body space to absorb this benefit. Good. In a moment, we're going to use our breath and move to downward facing dog and use it as a transition into some deeper hip stretches. You've all been here with me for these before. So let's now move from our bellies and gently listening to our bodies. Sometimes this means the journey is a little slower for you. Slower is a relative term. Tuck your toes and lift your hips. And go ahead and bend your left knee a little and bend your right knee a little. Find a little fluidity and recognize a beautiful length that you've created through the posterior line of your body. We're not here for long. I would like you to soften your neck. And then inhale your right leg to the sky, just temporarily coming to a three-legged dog. So we're brightening up the whole body and contracting through the right glute muscle. And use your exhale, bend your right knee and draw it into your chest and push the ground away with your hands. So you can step your right foot between your hands and melt your left knee down onto the ground. Feel those hips, they're nice and open now. You could let them soften as much as is comfortable. And reach your right hand forward. You just open up through your chest, so this should be a little easier. Inhale to sweep your right hand all the way towards the back of the mat. And just reach your right arm right back. And if it's comfortable, you can bend your left knee and get a hold of your left foot. If it's not, please don't do that. Listen to your body. But see if you can float your right shoulder a little higher. Just stretch through your chest space. And maybe your breath, your exhale can encourage your hips a little closer to the ground, your left hip to drop a little. Just to open up through the left hip flexor. But remember, if it feels wrong or it feels strained or it feels tight or it fights back, then sometimes you need to listen to that. I say sometimes because the body is full of stretch reflexes. So there's lots of involuntary muscle actions that stop you from damaging your tendons because you might be somewhere else. You might be suddenly running away from something dangerous, and you might jump into a situation where you could damage your tendons. That's not here. This position on your mat is a very, very safe, very controlled movement through the joints, so you can listen to your body, and as you breathe, maybe your body can soften and let go some of those reflexes. There are hacks for this. It's a subject for another class. If you've ever heard of PNF stretching. Gently let your left foot go and bring your right hand back to the top of the mat, and we'll set up for half pigeon. So this is a nice deep opening through the right glute. Does so much work. And if you need to take a modification, please don't be shy. Lie onto your back and bend your knee and press your right ankle onto your left knee. If you're coming with me, maybe just line your right shin up with your wrists. So you're dropping your right knee to do this. Good. And if it's comfortable, you can inhale both hands towards the sky. Now, it is very optional. Depends on whether you feel open with this, but just allow your left hip flexor to expand as you breathe in. And then as you exhale, walk your hands forward
and melt your heart down towards the earth. I've gone off camera here a little bit in case that's important. Shouldn't really be. What I'm doing doesn't really make any difference. It's what you're doing. I'm only following on so that if you feel the need to have a look for reference, you can see someone doing something. But honestly, it's your own journey through your own practice that counts. And maybe sometimes I shouldn't even demonstrate, because if you move through the practice feeling what's right for you, then that is right for you. If you look at somebody else's body, mind, whoever, and make adjustments according to what you see in their body, that might not be the best thing to do. Maybe just close your eyes and come with me on a journey, but don't use what you can see, use what you can feel. Good. One more long breath as we really open up through the right glute muscles, those big, big, big muscles. And use your breath to inhale, to walk your hands back and lift your heart space nice and high. So all over my mat here. Maybe you bring a block underneath your right sit bone if you've got something available. I'm doing it. And then sweep your left leg all the way around until your left leg passes your right knee. Now you can come up onto a block, or you can straighten out your right leg. But I would like you to soften your hips and keep your spine neutral. Take your left hand and place it behind your hips pressed to ground. Push down through your left foot. Push down like you're standing on it. And then inhale your right hand towards the sky, and exhale, draw your right elbow across your body. Keep your spine neutral and keep twisting your left shoulder towards the back of your mat. Please resist the temptation to drop your head forward. Remember when we're using those planes of glass to come through the frontal plane? I'd like you to just stay long and tall. So inhale, stretch the crown of your head towards the sky, and exhale, rotate your left shoulder, come through a nice deep transverse plane twist. And as you do so, you can squeeze your internal organs a little, give them a gentle massage, rinsing out. One more long breath. Maybe you find a little more length. Try not to look at the floor. Keep your gaze at least as high as your eye line, and exhale. Maybe that left shoulder rotates a little deeper if it's comfortable. Good. Then inhale, come through 160 degrees, 180 degrees, 360, 180. Take a counter twist. Nice. And then we'll come into cow face. Now, I like to use a block for this because I've got tight hips. We come up onto a block, and then see if you can walk your knees together. Walk your knees together. There's quite a good stretch for the outer thighs, both of them. The left thigh will get probably more of it, and you'll go all the way around to piriformis, the opposite muscle to pectineus. Now you can take reverse namaste if that's in your practice, really opening up through your chest muscles. Maybe you grab opposite forearms if you want to really open up through the chest muscles. Or maybe you just want to take it easy, modify nicely, and place your fingertips towards the floor. Inhale the heart up through the throat, and exhale to walk the chest forward. Now you're looking for your range, right? So how far you come isn't something you can see in someone else's body. It's something you feel in your own body. I know I keep repeating this, but I would like you to stay safe. I recently did a Zoom class with my teacher in Sydney. I was so excited to be in his class. I didn't listen to my body and I hurt myself. Contrary to all the advice I give out, I made that fatal mistake of trying too hard. My ego took over and I hurt myself. How foolish. So listen to your body and don't make my mistakes. Or if you do, learn from them. Life is this fun journey, isn't it? Nice big stretch through the outer thighs, especially the outer left thigh. A couple more breaths here and we'll do the other side. Those hips are opening now, aren't they? Can you feel it? Good. Gently unpress yourself. Slowly come into a downward facing dog. Walk it out a little. Any trapped chi energy or tension, just let it flush away through your breath and your movement. Anything that feels good to you, right? And then inhale your left leg to the sky, three-legged dog. See if you can keep your hips neutral. So there's a tendency to lift the left hip. So we're using the right thigh muscle more. I'd like you to keep the hips neutral. So you're using your left glute. You're engaging that bum cheek muscle. We're going to stretch it in a minute. Good. Then draw your left knee into your chest and step your left foot between your hands and soften your right knee onto the ground. Yeah. And this time you can reach your left hand forward. Chest should still be fairly open. So inhale that left hand all the way around through 180 degrees until the left fingertips are pointing back. How far back is up to you. And if you want to get a hold of your right foot, please be my guest. If it's not available to you, I'm going to let go of mine actually. If it's not available to you, then don't do it. Just reach that left hand back and soften your hips and raise your left shoulder a little. Just rotate around your neutral spine. Any signals coming to you from your body, what are you doing with them? Are you listening to them and adjusting? Are you ignoring them and saying they shouldn't be there? Are you not even hearing them? Or are you completely in tune? Nice, one more long breath in. Good, and then gently draw that left hand back and we're set up for pigeon on the other side. Ekapada Raja Kapotasana. Sounds lovely in Sanskrit, doesn't it? Even though I say it with an English accent. Walk your left foot to your right wrist and melt your left knee somewhere behind your left wrist. And find that angle in your knee that doesn't hurt. And if it does, maybe you need to take the modification on your back. Inhale your chest nice and high. Maybe your hands float nice and high. Whatever feels good to you. Whatever feels good to you. Nothing else matters. Register gravity. And then exhale to walk your hands forwards. Melt your heart towards the earth. Maybe your forehead rests onto the ground. Maybe your forehead rests onto your fist or a book or a block or a support or whatever you've got. And if it does, then maybe you can relax the muscles around the back of your neck and your shoulders. And as you rest your body towards the earth, I'd like you to imagine that your awareness could just step into your heart space. So you know where your heart is, the front of your chest. Imagine a little door opening, just swinging open and allowing a little energy flow down into the earth, and little energy from the earth comes straight back into your heart. It's like an energy exchange between your inner light and Mother Earth herself. Good. One more long, gentle, soft, muscle relaxing breath. And then gently inhale, come on up. Maybe you sit your left sit bone onto a block and just helicopter that right leg all the way around. Yeah, coming into half kingfish. Any modifications you need to take. And then place your right hand. So one of the good modifications is straightening your left leg. Place your right hand behind your hips and try and make sure your spine is neutral as you inhale your left hand up towards the sky. Reach it up and then exhale. Place your left elbow on the front of your right knee. And inhale, stretch your spine so it's long and safe and protected. And then exhale, rotate your right shoulder towards the back of your room, your mats, your space. And get a really nice rotation around your neutral spine. If you're looking at the ground, because it's interesting, well, there's stuff down there, raise your gaze so your eye line is level with your head. And then rotate through this neutral spine. Send your energy into your right foot and press it deeper into the earth. And use this to rotate your right shoulder a little further back, if it's comfortable. One more breath. You can feel the stretch, can't you? And then exhale, bring yourself back through 180 degrees, little counter twist. Yeah, and we'll set up for cow face. So whichever variation you did before, maybe you like that. I'm going to come onto a block. Draw your knees as close together as you can comfortably get them. Take whichever bind you want to. Maybe it's behind your back. Maybe you just place your fingertips on the floor and keep it nice and simple. Inhale to raise your heart energy straight up through your throat so you can feel the crown of your head lift, and then exhale. Walk your hands forward and allow that gentle stretch to slowly move through the outer right thigh. Posterior chain is nice and open from all those forward folds we did. Your heart energy can slowly ascend through your throat, through the crown of your head, reaching you forward, keeping the spine neutral. As the stretch goes a little deeper through the outer right thigh and gently opens up through piriformis at the back of your hips. Your breath still long and slow. For one more really nice, juicy inhale through the nose. Long, slow exhale to massage and soften every muscle. Nice, and gently come on up. And de-pretzel yourself. Come to seated on your mat. We're slowly going to lower ourselves from seated to lying down. Take a little stretch, do some breathing, and come into our Shavasana. Now in Shavasana, I don't in these Zoom classes because the mic doesn't like it. I will leave you to your Shavasana. I would like you to give yourself as much time in Shavasana as possible. There are no limits other than the ones you set for yourself. Gently lower your body slowly down towards the ground. Engage through your core as you do this last little bit of pranic energy through the body. Maybe you can find a really soft, slow, gentle connection with the ground. And then when you do, draw your knees into your chest. Give yourself one of those squeezes that says, yes, this was a good practice. Maybe you roll your hips around a little. And then send your arms wide so you can take a supine twist, dropping both knees over to the left as comfortably as you can. And rather than forcing the knees onto the ground, see if you can let the shoulders soften into gravity. And then let the knees do whatever they do. Lengthen through the right side. Nice. Go gently inhale your knees back into center. Wiggle your hips around so you know things are still neutral. And then rotate both knees to the right side or the opposite side, doesn't matter. Whichever one you did last, do the other side. But see if you can let your left shoulder or this shoulder melt into gravity. Let it sink. And then let the knee do whatever it does. Your body absorbing all the benefits of your practice. Nice. Gently draw your knees back into center. Give yourself one last practice squeeze and start setting up for your final resting pose. So broaden your ankles really wide, right? And then release through your inner thighs so you can let the feet flop outwards. Yeah. And then rest your arms on the ground like heavy lead weights and rotate your wrists so your palms face upwards in surrender. Maybe you walk your shoulders together very gently and tuck your chin to lengthen through the back of your neck. And we'll take 4 rounds of breath together. And then after that, you're going to drift into a really nice, deep, rich Shavasana. You'll absorb all the practice benefits. So seal your lips and let the breath leave your body. And we'll come into a 4-6 breath, using the longer exhale to relax more.
Good. Breathing with me. Inhale for 1, 2, 3, 4, and exhale 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale through the nose. 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale all the way. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Last time together. Inhale through the nose. 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Breathe normally through the nose. Relax. Let go. Shavasana. Namaste.